Hi everybody, this video is all about sustainability requirements in the automotive supply chain. So if your company or organization is in automotive, then let's talk. A couple of years ago, sustainability became a requirement for tier 1 suppliers, tier 2 suppliers, for the largest automakers in the world. And what do I mean by sustainability? I mean, companies are starting to be asked for their greenhouse gas emissions, if they're tracking energy consumption, if they have targets, if they have an EcoVadis scoring or rating, if they've done drive sustainability, and so on. There's so many requirements. To be honest, for these tier 1, tier 2 suppliers, this kind of came out of nowhere. A lot of the larger suppliers now have sustainability teams. For the mid-sized companies or large companies, they've brought on consultants or had to figure it out in-house. So this video is all about what are you being asked for? How do you accomplish these goals every year? What data do you need to track? What is out there that you need to scoop up as a certification, for example? And how do you do this all by maintaining business, maintaining your largest customers, and continuing to grow the bottom line of your business? So if this sounds like you, stay tuned and let's get into it. So, who is driving these requirements? Let's start there. Well, definitely automotive manufacturing, sales, service, cars, motorcycles, and so on. And the requirements flow down the supply chain. So, it's coming from Ford, General Motors, Stellantis, Toyota, Volkswagen. I could go on and on and on. And basically, what they did was they created their own kind of corporate goals and then push them down the supply chain. And so, for example, if you want to continue to work for or work with a large company next year, the year after, you have to prove to them that your business is thinking about sustainability. I've seen this not only for parts suppliers, but also even just service-based suppliers. If you service some of these large companies, you have to maintain sustainability strategy, some numbers, policies. We'll get into what you need to do, but who is driving these requirements? It's not coming from government regulations. Nope. It's coming from large companies and their own commitments to sustainability getting pushed to you. And so, of course, you can say no and opt out, but you may lose that revenue, that existing client, or that new request or proposal. So it actually helps your bottom line to pay attention to this video. Okay, let's get into the next part. So this next part is, what do you have to do as a supplier? I'm purposely starting with EcoVadis because I have seen it personally that this is typically where the large automotive manufacturers, they need you to start, and that's EcoVadis. EcoVadis is a third-party rating company. They're actually based in France, and lots of companies all around the world have gotten through the big questionnaire in EcoVadis, got a score or a rating, and then provided it to those big large companies I talked about on the last slide. So EcoVadis would give you a rating based on 4 things. The entry point. Do you think about the environment at your business? Do you have an environmental policy? What about labor and human rights? Are you thinking about child labor, working conditions, and health and safety? What about ethics? Are you thinking about IT security for your data, your partner's data? And what about just corruption? Are you thinking about that? And the last is procurement. It means your own suppliers. So for all of those 4 topics, they're thinking about policies, any actions, reporting on data, and any targets into the future. So it's comprehensive. Sustainability is not just about the environment, but you'll find that you're being asked about those 4 themes of sustainability. Now, EcoVadis is often the starting point, but there are others too that we're going to get into. You might have gotten one of those emails from your large customer saying, hey, it's sustainability questionnaire time. We need you to fill this out. Sometimes it comes in a spreadsheet. Sometimes it'll be an invitation to do EcoVadis that I just talked about. Another time it will be, we need you to do the Carbon Disclosure Project, or CDP. CDP is an energy and emissions data-based disclosure that you do every September, and you may be asked by your large customer to do CDP. Other ones that I've seen in automotive is IS Networld. Now, you're probably familiar with this because of doing health and safety and other things, but now there's a new sustainability rating area in there as well, which would ask you things like energy consumption, waste, for a baseline year? What about scope 1 and scope 2 emissions? Do you train people on environment, reduction, impact, and so on? Also, supplier assurance is another one that I've definitely seen. Again, depending on the large company you're working with, they may ask you to do a different sustainability portal or submission. Another one is Drive Sustainability that I've seen. Integrity Next is another portal that you would maybe be asked to log into and explain your strategy and sustainability. And the final example I'll give on this page is SBTI, Science Based Target Initiative. Some large companies are asking their suppliers to confirm their targets, their science based environmental targets, and you would have to go through SBTI. So these are just some of the common ones that I'm seeing that I wanted to talk about what you'd actually have to go through and do as a supplier in automotive. And finally, some other examples just from working in this industry. I'm going to throw them out there. MSCI, FTSE ESG, ISS, S&P CSA, ASI, for example, powertrain and RSCI. There's lots that are being driven by investors, some by large companies and suppliers, all around what is your business doing around sustainability. It's no longer going to be acceptable to say we're not doing anything and then just turn it off, because honestly, you're going to lose large customers. And again, I want to reiterate that this is not necessarily government regulation at all. It's driven by your large customer. So it's something you're really going to have to do to maintain them. I'm also a business owner. So let's talk about, why does doing sustainability in automotive make and save you money? So much time is saved if you get a score above expectations. I've seen this happen. So, if you actually do spend some time or get an outside consultant to help your business figure out sustainability and get, let's say, a good EcoVadis scoring or rating, let's say above the minimum requirement of your large customer. So, let's just throw a number out there. Let's say that EcoVadis needs to be above 70%, for example. So, if you score a 71%, let's say, you actually may save your business time because you're above your large clients' expectations in sustainability, and they have no follow-up questions, and they don't need to go out and bug your site owners and so on. So I've seen this before, for example, somebody scoring a silver and their site teams don't have to fill in any more SAQs and get talked to and need help and support and gap filling and so on. This can save thousands of hours in some cases, but honestly, it can just turn a red flag off of your business. It can help you win new RFPs, new business, and maintain the confidence of your large customer. In my experience helping multiple businesses in the automotive sector, there are common things that you need. You need to have an environmental policy, environmental controls as well. So, what's in the policy? Well, it's what you do with energy consumption. Do you track your kilowatt hours at all your sites? What about waste? What about natural gas? What about company owned vehicles or refrigerants, propane? Are you tracking these? Are you looking at it, or are you just paying bills? And have you trained employees on figuring out ways to reduce consumption? Do you have a green team, for example? So there's lots of ways in this first part to have a good, strong policy that doesn't just sit on a shelf, but is already part of how your employees act. So environmental controls. 2 is safety systems. This is all actually under labor and human rights. You probably already do this, making sure your employees feel safe, that you're running safety risk assessments with your employees, that you're paying them fairly, you don't accept child labor, maybe even, don't allow discrimination and harassment at your business, and so on. So that's the next part, which is keeping your employees safe and healthy and well. And then just training. What are you training your staff on? Are you training them on, obviously doing the job right, but what about harassment? What about, forced labor, things to watch for? What about corruption and bribery and even fraud? These are things you need to train your employees on. Even IT data protection. So anti-phishing, for example. And then just governance and compliance. Are you teaching your employees, or do you have good processes around making sure that policies are reviewed every year, for example? Are you making sure that everybody does get trained every year, for example? And then the data comes in. Is the data looked at? Is it carefully assessed and reviewed across all of those themes? So, are you tracking human incident rates, accidents, for example, or fatalities, for example. All of this needs to go in a spreadsheet or a dashboard for your executive team to review every year. And then it needs to go over to some of those systems and portals I already talked about. ISN, for example, supplier assurance, EcoVadis, and so on. It would need to get in there. For the more environmental focused one, we'd need to, submit every year on your carbon and on your environmental impact, for example. So that's exactly what's looked at. And there's different scoring capabilities, but it's very important that your company just get used to doing this because it's not going to go away. So, if you're an automotive supplier, what should you focus on? One is get that first thing right. And likely that first thing is going to be EcoVadis. Do your very first submission, fill out the questionnaire. You can definitely get some help so you can do it right. My experience is if companies submit their own EcoVadis without any external help, they often score in the 20 or 30% because they just haven't built the policies before. So it might be helpful to get someone in to help you figure out, what a policy could look like and get it going. And then maybe a few months later, you submit EcoVadis after everybody at the company has seen these new policies. So that's how I would do it. Organize the evidence or reporting or data in a nice chart and start collecting multiple years, not just 1 year of data. And track that basic data every month or maybe every quarter, every year, because you want to track your trend. Of course, every single company wants to, focus on growth. So maybe your energy consumption you think will go up every year. Maybe your water consumption will go up every year if you're growing as a business. So it's time to start thinking about ways to reduce your consumption by unit, for example. Flip out lighting for new LED lighting, for example, have sensors turn machines off at night, for example. These are some ways that you can reduce energy consumption by, let's say, part or by employee count every year. My final advice is don't ignore these requests because they're going to come back to bite you. So get on it. Be honest about the gaps that you have today. Make sure you look at the questions you're going to be asked. And then definitely reach out for help if you ever need it from me. My name is Lindsay Hampson. I do this a lot with companies. I can do a 15-minute call with you and we can figure out what you need, what you have today, and when is a likely time frame that you could submit your first sustainability questionnaire. I would also say that I'm always pleasantly surprised when I work with companies. They're already doing a lot of things they don't realize are part of the sustainability requirements. So you're probably going to do better than you think you are on some of the actions. Usually the gaps are around having a formal policy written or a commitment document, having baselines and targets across the 4 areas of sustainability and training your people and getting it right. So that's what I think about automotive supplier sustainability. It's a doable thing. Trust me, I've seen it. This industry is not changing its way with sustainability requirements in the supply chain, even as we see new requirements for, EV production, customer demands, and so on shifting. I really honestly don't think sustainability requirements in the supply chain are going away. So again, good luck. Ask questions, do some research, figure out exactly what's being asked of you, and then reach out for help. All right, so it's not impossible. Thanks so much for watching. Again, reach out anytime. My company is This Rock, and I'd love to talk to you about your sustainability strategy and requirements to keep those large customers happy. All right, have a great week, and thanks again for watching. See you later.